They started queuing well before dawn. After months and in some cases years in the camp they call the jungle, hundreds of refugees and migrants waited to board buses, taking them to reception centres across France. In effect, giving up on their dreams of coming to Britain and applying for asylum here instead.
This place finished. Dangerous, too much dangerous, you know. You see,
Clutching his artwork, this man from Darfur displayed his wounds from life in the jungle. He's now fed up of trying to board lorries to Britain.
You wanted to go to UK at first?
Well, I try all 3 years, just try, just try.
3 years
after
trying
fell
to
down,
get to
3
it.
years. After fell down, people from place try finish. You know, people change place.
And now you're happy to go to anywhere?
Happy too much because this bad life, you see.
In separate queues were the camp's unaccompanied minors, waiting to be processed and taken to a secure area of the Calais camp. Many with relatives in Britain hope to be accepted by the Home Office, like this 16-year-old from Ethiopia.
And your uncle in Epsom, have you spoken to him? You speak to your uncle?
Yeah.
What did he say to you?
You say, come on, this life jungle is no good. This really, jungle is no good. So,
How long have you been in the jungle?
7 months.
And what's it like?
It's bad.
All morning there was a steady and peaceful exodus of people from the camp. The demolition work due to start here tomorrow morning may have forced their hand, but it's still surprising perhaps that so many seemed willing to abandon their dreams of the UK and life in the jungle.
This camp, awful as it was, had become a kind of home to many people, and this was in effect the main high street. Now though, it's more or less completely abandoned except for the people making their way up through the camp towards the areas where you queue for the buses. And there are still some who are staying on here, undecided about where to go next, but still hoping to be able to get to the UK.
Al-Hassan studied chemical engineering in Basra, Iraq. He spent the last year living in this hut with 2 friends and says he's not leaving.
I'm gonna stay here. We're gonna sleep rough if necessary, because we have families in the UK and we need to go there as soon as possible.
But even when this whole camp is closed down?
Yeah. We're adamant and determined to stay here. We have no choice but to stay here.
Do you think that there could be violence when the police come? They'll try and move you on?
This is something possible, but not sure. But violence is something that we got used to around this year.
Why do you want to go to the UK? Why not just go somewhere in France?
Well, you can see what country France is. Here, we've been living here for 1 year. No one cares about your medical situation. No one cares about you. So we just got the impression that France is not good enough to take care of us.
Some might trumpet this as the historic end of a bone of contention between Britain and France for years. But the jungle isn't the first refugee camp in Calais, and this isn't the first time one has been closed down.
La première certitude, c'est que c'est la fin du camp de Calais.
The first certainty is that it's the end of the Calais camp, but the end of the migration question also depends on our relationship with the UK. When we're still fighting to make sure that the UK accepts unaccompanied minors who have family on the other side of the channel. Efforts have been made, it's true, since the Amiens summit, but those efforts are not enough, because as long as the UK refuses a legal process for immigration, notably for unaccompanied minors, then the situation will continue to cause difficulties.
In this Calais brasserie, many locals were sceptical about what would happen next. There's been talk of migrants moving from here to nearby Dunkirk and even returning to Calais after a few weeks in the reception centres they're being bused to.
It's just moving the problem somewhere else. Not necessarily in Calais, but somewhere else. They're probably going to move elsewhere, like we saw with Sangatte.
It's a good thing for Syrian people and Eritrean, and also for people of Calais, because the camp decrease the tourism and impact the economy.
Close to 2,000 migrants were processed today, leaving on 49 buses. Authorities had hoped to move around 3,000, but this is a big logistical challenge. Police announced some would have to come back tomorrow. Other migrants were just watching, trying to plan their next move to get to Britain. Like Mahmoud, who spent his teenage years in London as a child asylum seeker before being deported back to Afghanistan earlier this year.
First, if you go somewhere and you were 14-year-old and you've been there like 6-7 years, and I'm gonna force you to go back to your country, what are you gonna feel? Can you stay in some other country? I can't, because my mind is same like in the UK. I have a brother, I have a friends, I have a family.
Migrants and refugees have travelled for months and for many miles to get here, hoping to reach Britain. We met some who even arrived in Calais just last night. A lot now seem to have accepted they'll never make it to the UK, but others still believe they can and are willing to put up with conditions even worse than these to get there.